Hello everybody, this is Starman, and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal at Krondor. Well, last time you remember, we made our way from Caval Keep all the way down here to Romney. We did not quite enter the town yet, but we did just raise our haggling skill a fair bit by talking to a local reeve named Mitchell Waylander. So let's see if we can actually get inside the city. Looks like we didn't have a problem. Known as the City of Guilds, Romney's cobblestone streets were knotted, a labyrinth of clothes and winds, often leading nowhere or into blind alleys populated by disreputable-looking drinking establishments. Only the dark main street called the Murky Mile seemed at all inviting to the strange town, or to visitors to the strange town. The meeting hall was full. Assembled in the room were a dozen grizzled-looking men, all seated around a long table, at the head of which sat a young man sporting a goatee. As they entered, a servant quickly pointed them to a bench off to the one side, indicating that a meeting of some import was underway. "I don't care what Mitchell Waylander may or may not be doing," the bearded man said sternly. "I am the Duke of Romney, and you will do as I request, else I will call up others from Boss Tyra. Do you really wish to call King Liam's attention to this matter?" Unsettled by the vigor with which the young Duke made his point, the various guild leaders shifted in their seats. One, a tremendously overweight man whose clothes tested their seams, leaned forward, and careful not to spark too much of a response. "It's entirely possible that the leader of the river pullers was assassinated by the leader of one of the other guilds here. It's even possible he sits in this room with us. If you have someone in mind, Boffo, why don't you simply come out with it with a name?" the man replied, leaning across the table to grab the obese guildmaster's shirt. "Talk, you overweight cat's innard! Enough!" Slamming down the tankard of ale which sat at his right hand, the Duke turned his piercing blue eyes on all assembled. "I want peace on the Romney, and I wish it today. The fact that the Ironmonger's Guild will not come to a negotiations table is irrelevant. If I hear another word of a possible uprising in Romney, I swear to you I shall make each and every one of you pay for it." Having heard enough of the heated words in the chamber, Locklear turned and whispered to his companions. "If Rufa were here, he'd have us slaughtered at the gibbet for even thinking of open rebellion." "The fact of the matter is Prince Arufa is not here," the Duke replied tersely, evidently having overheard the whispering, "and I will not deal so cavalierly with those who are as much my family as my serfs." Snapping his fingers, he motioned to a pair of guards who stood immediately behind him. "Sergeant Yearly, see to it that these gentlemen are let out, seeing as how they yearn to get to a part of the world where Prince Arufa rules." So, yeah, things are a bit of a mess around here. And yes, we got fresh water from that. And there's a tavern and one shop here. And yeah, it is a weapon shop, but a bit more pricey than we're used to dealing with. However, poison arrows go for a fair bit here, it seems. We'll take a shovel. Will they take a staff? They will not take a staff. Spare magic ring? No, they won't. And we'll check out the tavern. The Black Sheep Tavern. We'll try the barding. 95 sovereigns, not bad. Barmaid. And same I don't want to talk to you conversation. Gambler will not gamble with us. And then we have this little fellow. Locklear motioned to the figure across the room. The boy walked over to join them. He stood before them, eyes downcast. Are you the collectors?" "The collectors? What do you know about them?" "Only what Master Carl Lewis said. First before he went away, he says to me that one day the collectors would come and take me away to a pretty place where every boy would be like me and I wouldn't have to worry, and that I shouldn't be upset he had to go because he was going to a real nice place where people would like him. I tried not to be scared, but it was real hard, and after the master left, I cried hard for days until my head hurt. Then one day the Black Sheep Man found me and said I could scrub his pots until the collectors take me." "And how much does your current master pay you?" "Pay me?" "Yes, your wages. What does the Black Sheep Man give you for helping clean up around here? For sweeping the floor and scrubbing the pots?" "Oh, well, he's very good to me, Lord. He lets me sleep in the coop with the chickens so I don't catch the shakes, and I'll get the bread that hasn't greened yet." "That's very kind of him. Is he here?" "No, he left a week ago on business to Silden. He said that he'd be back very soon. I could sleep here in the shop. I forgot to lock the door." "Well, we'll leave you then. And I want you to lock up the shop behind us, and I want you to stay here until your master comes back. When he does, I want you to tell him that the collectors are coming for him very soon, and Senor Locklear of Prince Arufa's court says so." So, yeah, Jason, very sad, abused, teen boy there. And we will have an encounter with him later, I fear. But yeah, that is Romney. Not much to it, really. We will actually find something a bit more profitable here to the west, if memory serves. Because there's a little bend in the road here. And hey, another inn. No conversation, and we can get food, but that's about it. At this rate, I may increase everybody else's barding skill as high as Owen's, but we go around the bend here. Actually, different bend now that I think about it. There was something very strange about the house. Locklear couldn't put his figure on it, but the house had a dreamlike feel, or was it a nightmare? He barely remembered knocking on the door, but he was sure no one had answered. Yep, here it is. Forgot it was hidden behind the house. There's a chest. They go up white but come down yellow and white. Well, that would be eggs. Because what we find in this scroll, or in this chest, we have a scroll, another plus 100 rapier, and a magic scroll with a spell called the Fetters of Rhyme. And this spell, it's one of the better ones in the game, and hopefully we'll run into something that we can use it on shortly. And if memory serves, there's another... Yep. And we're close to the village of Sloop. Yeah, it's not even worth picking up the non-kingdom swords at this point. Here's Sloop, which is where we can find Mitchell Waylander when he's not in Romney. Locklear could smell alcohol. Pushing the door of the shop open, he was met by a sharp-faced fellow who was carrying a wooden keg. Quickly dumping it with a pile of other casks, he wiped his hands off with a towel and extended a hand. "All he said. "I'm the brewmaster around here when I'm not hauling things about." "And where exactly is here?" Locklear replied. "This is the Upton Keg. We're the best brewery this side of the Romney. Would you care to sample some of our stock? We make a dandy apple wine," the proprietor said. "I could have some decanted for you." Refusing as he knew how, Locklear shook his head. "We have to keep our heads about us," he said. "We've a long road ahead, and there's been some trouble around, or so I hear. We'll leave you to get back to your business." So we have a brewery. The front door of the small house had a crudely made sign which read, "Unzuel items for sale." Locklear knocked and waited for somebody to answer the door. A tall, shadowy man appeared and ushered them inside the house. "You came to buy something, yes?" he asked through crooked yellow teeth. "I guess that depends on what you're selling, friend," Goraf replied. They followed the man to a large wooden table. It was covered by a dozen items, mostly junk, but one caught Locklear's eye. "Tell me about this piece. Where did you get this?" he said, picking up a broken medallion that looked as though it had been stepped on more than once. The man eyed them nervously. "I found it somewhere. Would you like to buy it?" He made a half-hearted sales pitch and then seemed almost relieved when his offer was rejected and he was told they had to leave. Turning to Goraf, Locklear said, "Did you notice the Nighthawk emblem on that medallion? I would say that there definitely are, or were, Nighthawks in this area." Yeah, the Nighthawks being a group of assassins who mark themselves with a black medallion that is shaped like a hawk. The house was obviously deserted. Still, Locklear thought it would be a good idea to knock. No sooner had his knuckles touched wood than the door swung open. He blinked several times as his eyes adjusted to the murky darkness. Doesn't seem to be anything up. Suddenly, a scrawny ball fur exploded out of the house, raking Gar painfully across the face. "Damnation!" Locklear cried. "Cap's been trapped in here for days." He caught his breath and went over to check on Goraf's injury, which thankfully was not that injurious. And this temple, unfortunately, seems to be abandoned. 127 gold left abandoned in a house. A pretty woman of about 30 answered Locklear's knock. She came to the door holding a leather-bound book. Looking past her into the house, Locklear could see 4 or 5 children of various ages. "I'm afraid you gentlemen are a little old for my classes," she said. "Ah, yes, okay then. Well, we won't disturb you any further. Goodbye, miss." After the door closed, Locklear turned to Owen and said, "Don't give me that look. Teachers always make me nervous." Ah, yeah. Here is the jewel shop with the outrageous prices. And they, too, will not take a staff. And hey, here's another virtue key. Standing in front of the wooden door, Locklear paused to marvel at the construction of the house. Like many such houses, this one had apparently been built quite soundly, and out of good materials. He knocked on the solidly built door. A moment later, a large man appeared in the doorway, his sandy-colored hair dancing around on his head thanks to a gentle breeze. "You fellows come about a house? No one builds them better," he said proudly. Locklear took a step back. "We were just admiring the fine job you did. Very nice work. Unfortunately, we're just passing through." They talked to the man for a few minutes, discovered there was a temple on the other side of town, then left. Yeah, the other side of town being completely empty. And nobody here either. And yeah, nothing to be had here. Unfortunately, there's the eastern side of the kingdom. We cannot go that way, so southward we keep going. And yeah, here's what I was looking for. A group shambled towards them. Worshippers of Gaiswa, the red-jawed hunter, the group moved in a disorderly clump. The hollows underneath their vacant eyes adored with blood-colored whorls of pigment. Displaying a 3-figured hand, a ritual mutilation of the priestly caste, a large figure rasped, "Today, Gaiswa ordains that you shall be his prey." Well, I want to give Owen a chance to test his new spell, but we become so efficient at fighting. Alright, here we go. Fetters of Rhyme. Freezes opponents, but it does a bit more than that, too. See, like Fetters of Rhyme, it does make the enemy unable to move, but it also does damage. So now we got 3 dead bodies and 3 chests to loot. Kingdom fools are born without. A lot of this there is no doubt. Well, what are babies born without? Hair. There's 4 chests. A barrel of rainwater weighs 20 pounds. What must you add to make it weigh 15? Yeah. Bit of lateral thinking on this one. Holes. And hey, we have another scroll. Steel Fire, which we already have that spell, but we'll be able to sell that one shortly enough. Yeah, let's not try and open that one just yet. And the chest is trapped. Let's step back as far away as possible. Save game first. The trap was deactivated. Hey, Eyes of Ishap. We already have that one as well. And then this one. And this one is beyond our ability, unfortunately. But still, not a bad haul, all things considered. A man appeared in the doorway, his raven hair dusted with gray and the lines around his eyes hard. He looked on them with gravity, the weight of his stare deep and penetrating. "This is the house of Madame Hapra," he rasped. "Futures, speaking with the dead, rumors. Would you require a payment of 50 gold? Do you wish a session with Madame? Why not?" Locklear produced the requested amount and handed it over, following the tall man. Just before pushing aside a curtain, he halted and whispered to them. "Do not question some of the things my wife may say or do," he said. "We have recently lost a daughter, and it has shaken Hapra's belief in some of her abilities. Please, if she asks for acceptance, no matter what she may have to say, please treat her kindly." With another word, he shoved aside the curtain and allowed them into a rear room where Madame Hapra waited. Seated at a table, she wore a woven brochet vest over a lightly dyed peasant's blouse, and her hands and neck were ornamented with bright wooden beads. "Please have a seat," she muttered, waving a brightly nailed hand at the rude chairs across from her. As she spoke, her eyelids fluttered, as if she were speaking from an alcoholic haze. "I may provide 3 services for you. We may speak of local rumors, I may tell thee of the future, or I may speak to the dead. Which would you have of me?" Let's go with, why not, the dead. Closing her eyes, the old woman shook as if a tree bowing beneath the winds of a howling gale, her lips drawn taut, and her face drained of color. After several moments of effort, she shook her head. "I cannot help you. Deems Karagma holds those you wish too tightly." Believing the session was over, Bella stepped forward to escort them out, but Hapra motioned for him to keep their place. "I do not believe they were finished," he said, treating them with a faint smile. "For the price you have paid, you may continue to ask questions. So, strangers, I have told you before, may speak of local rumors, I may tell you of the future, or I may speak to the dead." Let's go with rumors. "Rumors," she repeated quietly. Leaning forward in her seat, she met Locklear's gaze and held it, allowing her voice to harden. "Rumors? I will tell thee of the only rumor about which I know. Many have come and spoken to me of Rusalki that roam the lands near River's Pilot Folly at night, but these are lies." Startled of the ferocity of which the woman had bitten off the last word, Locklear shrugged his shoulders. "I had not heard anything of them. Do not seek the Rusalki," she continued, with her voice still frantic. "They are of no harm to anyone." Although he had remained quiet as Hapra had begun to rant, Bella moved forward and touched her on the shoulder, seemingly relieving the wildness that was overcoming her. "These gentlemen are friends," he said quietly. "You will not be injured." Taking his hand, she nodded once, then looked back at Locklear. "You will forgive me. This has touched our lives, but I can explain no further." Well, let's ask about the future. "Very well," Hapra said with a weak smile, her posture relaxing visibly as she leaned back into her overstuffed cushions of her sitting chair. "We shall tell your future." Her eyes half closed, she looked dreamily at Locklear, licking her lips as she spoke. "When you are driven on the longest road, you will seek to destroy the instrument of deception, but will find the need to deceive those who guard the way. In the very last place you will find that salvation is with the man who seems a boy." Folding her hands in her lap, she looked on them serenely, her face beginning to resume the look of her age. "That is the face I see before you," she said, the slight tremolo in her voice betraying kind of nervousness. "The fates have spoken through me." Yeah, let's reject that. Locklear snorted his contempt for the old woman's prediction. "I could have told you any of the same things. I heard virtually all the same things from street lunatics." "Hapra!" Bella shouted, but was shoved aside like a mere twig as the old woman lunged to her feet, her eyes blazing fury. Raking Locklear's face with her sharpened nail, she howled in a voice that no longer sounded human. "I am Hapra! You will believe! You will believe!" Weeping openly, Bella moved behind his distraught wife, but rather than trying to console her, he lifted a stick of firewood and struck her to the floor. Standing over her unconscious form, he seemed poised to strike again. "What?" Confused, Locklear flashed a horrified stare at Bella, but suddenly withdrew back in shock as another form began to materialize around Hopper's crumpled body, taking on the shape of a young girl. For a moment it hovered, its expression glowering as it stared at Bella, and then with a hateful screech it flashed through the air to pass through the walls of the house. "Go after it," Bella sobbed, dropping to the ground to cradle his wife. "Go and kill it. We are finished with the Rusalki now. Go." Nearly tripping over the clutter of the small house, they rushed outside prepared their weapons for the Rusalki that now awaited to kill them all. Funny, I'm not seeing the Rusalki that is waiting to kill us all. Ah, ambush. Yeah, unfortunately, ice spells don't work too well on the undead. I don't think the poison bolt is going to do much good either. And yeah, Rusalkis can drain the life out of you really quickly if you let them. But that was enough to do it. Bella said nothing as he let them inside. Next to the door, Hafra was sitting up, her frail fingers clutched in her hair and a distant look on her face as she regarded them. She looked more relieved than pained from her injury. "She is dead?" "Yes," Locke replied. "Dead, or at least we may assume so. What exactly did we witness here?" "A foolish old woman who didn't wish to let her daughter go," she said, her voice trembling, grabbing onto Bella's hand for support. She continued on bravely. "After our daughter died, I sought to find her with my talents. I thought if I could seize onto her, we could keep her with us. But that's not what you found," Locklear replied. Hafra shook her head. "No, it wasn't. Instead, I found the spirit of the Rusalki, who promised that she would bring our daughter to us, if we would allow her to live through me, to inhabit this body. For a while we believed her, but after several weeks, we knew we had been trapped by the creature." Feeling awkward in the woman's presence, Locklear touched the woman's shoulder lightly. "I am very sorry." "Don't be," she said. "You have freed us of a curse, and now we can begin to rebuild our lives without my daughter. For this, I shall grant you a true prophecy, or at least one as true as I am capable." Looking deep into Locklear's eyes, Hafra spoke slowly. "There is one you seek who hides in many guises. He will trick you and guide attention away from himself, but he is marked by his smell. He shall be the one who holds the key to an important mystery." "What is his name?" Locklear asked, intrigued by the answer. "I do not know," the woman replied in shame, looking to the floor. "In truth, my powers are quite limited. I have told you all that I can truly see." "Enough," Bella said. "It is time you had some rest, Hafra." Understanding that the man wished for them to leave, Locklear nodded thankfully to the fortune-teller and her husband. "Good luck on your new life together," he said, as he closed the door behind them. "I think you deserve it." And yes, this quest is meant to be done in Chapter 2, but we now know that somebody that we're going to need to seek out will be marked by a particular smell. And I had hoped we could get to Silden, which we're a bit of a ways from there. And there's a rather big bit of mystery to solve before we get there. Well, potentially. Keep out. Good advice for now. We don't need to go this way just yet. For we'll find several inns here on this road. The owner of the house, a bearded man of about 50, obviously saw Locklear approaching before the door swung open, before he had a chance to knock. Good day, you sirs. My name is Buck Rosh, and who might you be? Locklear made the appropriate introductions, and then the man smiled at them warmly. They said, "There has been fruit for the season. Can I interest you gents in some dried trout? Maybe you'd like to buy one of my homemade shovels, or maybe a torch." Well, I'm actually okay on all that stuff, but if I ever need a shovel, I know where to come get it. And it looks like we've got one guy in the road. Locklear stopped. With a puzzled look to his face, he turned to Gorath. "There's some men up ahead, and judging by their strides, I'd say they're guarding something. Perhaps we should avoid this area until we find out what they're up to." Well, okay. Maybe we should do that, but that seems as good a cue as any to stop this chapter here, and next time, well, I'll either go around them or we'll go toward them and find out what they're up to. We'll see you then.